Hello and welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very, very much for tuning in this morning. Manchester United have been told that a bid of £52 million will be required to sign the centre-back currently on loan at Atalanta. Of course, he belongs to Juventus. The fee is for £52 million if Man United want to get that deal done and dusted and over the line. On top of that, this morning, more news and speculation in relation to Chelsea Football Club. Reportedly, Roman Abramovich has instructed the club to look and make inquiries about Hakimi, of course, the sensational right back into Milan, formerly of Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. I always get shook really as a football fan that Real Madrid let him go. He's absolutely sensational. There's no doubt about it. Report says here that Chelsea are now interested, although they have not yet made a concrete approach for the Moroccan international, who's valued at between 70 and 75 million euros. Hakimi has shone for Inter and has also previously caught the eye of Borussia Dortmund, with the 22-year-old certainly up there with the finest fullbacks in the game right now. It's an interesting link, and it's a link that Chelsea have that, if I'm being honest, it just don't feel right to me. I know that Cesar Azpilicueta, I nearly got his name wrong there, is in the twilight of his career. He's moving towards the end of his career. I understand that completely and utterly. But you've got Reece James coming through. 70 to 75 million euros. Does that sound like too much money for a backup? Because I would hazard this as a guess right now with every single Chelsea fan who's tuning into the terrace at this moment. I cannot imagine that any single Chelsea fan would want Hakimi over Reece James. And I want to ask you that question this morning. Are there any Chelsea fans out there that would prefer Hakimi in their team to Reece James? Or do you look at it from a different point of view? Go and get Hakimi and create an amazing level of competition in that area of the pitch. Maybe there's the ideals from Thomas Tuchel to use three at the back, and maybe Reece James is going to be used as a third centre-back a little bit more next year. So maybe there is something I'm missing here. Maybe there's a different level to this that I'm not thinking about. We know that the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi have played in that position, and Odoi himself is again linked with a big move. This summer to Bayern Munich. That rumor is rearing its head again, as we always see. Remember, we are going into a show this morning. So at 10 o'clock, I'm filming a brand new show called The Done Deal Show on the Football Terrace. If you want to pose any questions you have regarding transfers into our tier one expert that we've got, who's going to be making the show with us, super chat those questions in now. We want to pay homage to you and really sort of get some expert opinion on what it is you're saying and thinking and feeling. So get those super chats into us. We're filming that at 10 o'clock this morning. So a short live stream this morning. We're going to get that filmed and get that out to you. There's a comment here that says, Hakimi is a good player, but no, it's coming up. Livramento is coming up and should build around the challenge. Yeah, I'm not too sure who that player is. I have to research that. But fair enough. Just looking, says James won't be coming in to play over Reece James. You mean Hakimi won't be coming in to play over Reece James? And any transfer rumor that suggests otherwise should be taken with a pinch of salt. He should be used as a third centre-back, not if Aspi is still here. I think the element is, Aspi's getting towards the end of his career, isn't he? But there's a comment here from Andy that says, no way Hakimi is better than Reece James. Traore seems better as he can play right wing back, but also right wing. And I understand. Do you know what I would say about that as well? See, the Traore deal also makes more sense to me because I think a player of Traore's level would be okay sitting on a bench on a regular basis, where I don't think Hakimi would be. And I do think Reece James is going to keep him on the bench more often than not. That's just my view. That's just how it feels to me. But yeah, That's just how it feels. In relation to Manchester United's pursuit of Cristian Romero, again, a centre-back that I'm not overtly familiar with. So I'm not going to sit here and talk about how brilliant he is or how it must be a player that Man United fight heaven and earth for. United's number one target is Rafael Varane. He's had another big contract offer from Real Madrid put across his table, something that he's gone away to consider and think about. So Man United, like with Chelsea that are looking at new centre-backs, can't put all their eggs in one basket. Jules Koundé right now looks like he's heading towards Real Madrid, regardless of Rafael Varane or Sergio Romero signing new deals. So United are looking elsewhere. The problem is with Cristian Romero is that Man United's, the quoted price of £52 million is above the level of money that Man United currently have to spend on additional players outside of Jadon Sancho. Anything north of £40 million, Man United simply don't have. The signings of Eric Bailly, re-signings of Eric Bailly and Edison Cavani have put Man United into a position where they've got money to spend on centre-backs, midfielders maybe. Attackers are still on the agenda. But unless there's a sale of a big asset or two, Man United spending above and beyond sort of £40 million on players in those positions is very, very unlikely. Which is frustrating, really. Thank you very much there, Guna, Jim Guna TV. Appreciate that. It's one of those things for me where I think to myself, Cristian Romero, is he worth £52 million? I don't personally know. Is it something Man United are going to push for before the beginning of the Euros? I can't see it. So it's definitely not going to happen then. I think you're going to have to see the sale of a player or two, some money be raised before Man United put any of these official bids in my very humble opinion. So 1 second. Just got to sort something out here. There's a comment here that came in that's now disappeared again. There it is from Wizzer. He says exactly, Terry, 40 million is the most teams want to spend for players, especially if they want to get CPL of signings through the door. I don't know what you mean, get a CPL. I don't know what you mean by CPL, but the thing is with Man United, yeah, they want to keep the spending down. They want to keep the spending down because they don't have the money. It's as simple as that. And even with Chelsea got loads of money, but they want to put the majority of their budget towards signing Haaland. That's why they haven't got 80, 90 million pound for Declan Rice, because they're going for Haaland. So everyone's got upper limits. There's no doubt about it. However, if Man United decide to sell Paul Pogba, if Man United raise enough money, maybe if Man United raise enough money through the sale of Matic, Mata, Pereira, and Lingard, say all three of those players, say four of those players left. Maybe not Matic looking at a new deal, and we raise 50 million. Then you could see these deals go through. But there is going to be an element of having to sell before you buy, or at least having the commitments to sell before you buy. The books are going to be balanced. There's just no doubt about that whatsoever. Morning, David. Hope you are well. Check out you got your year's members badge today. That must have come. Oh, that's nice, mate. Happy days for you. Well done for getting your year's members badge. The members badges will be changing very soon, and brand new emojis are going to be created and put together. Myself and the team at Snack are working on that to really spruce up the membership packages for you. Terry, I have no interest in talking about Hakimi. Let's talk about Haaland. I understand that. That news is just treading water for a little bit. Someone said CPL stands for a couple of signings. Thank you. Morning, Zaza. Hope you are well. Hope you are good. Hakimi is good, can cause issues for defensive teams. Absolutely, he can. But I wanted to ask everybody, tuning in this morning, a question. Could you see Callum Hudson-Odoi leaving Chelsea this summer? Excuse me while I do this. And the reason I ask you that is big links. Big links again with him today, looking like he might leave. Bayern Munich rearing its head, looking like they might want to come in and have another stab at trying to sign him. Can people conceivably see that happening? Legitimately, can people see that happening? Can people see that like being a deal that is completed over the course of the summer? A lot of people here saying yes, lots of no's coming in as well, because it is a deal, and it's one I wanted to speak about very briefly this morning. That, you know, Callum Hudson-Odoi is continually being linked with a move away from. 1 second here. Is continually being linked with a move away from Chelsea. And this morning we saw a journalist. I want to get his name up here because I don't want to get his name wrong. I think it was Konstantin Ekner, who of course is a journalist for the Times and the BBC and a few other places. He says the transfer saga for Jadon Sancho rolls on. He says, but how about another one? Bayern Munich actually considered bidding for Chelsea winger Callum Hudson-Odoi once again. So it does appear that Bayern Munich are interested in trying to sign Callum Hudson-Odoi. Chelsea fans, from your perspective, from your point of view, is that something that you can see happening? Is that something that you, I want to say, would welcome? That isn't the point that I'm trying to make here. Is it something that you could see finally going through, essentially, finally happening at Chelsea Football Club? Finally, you know, he moves on. He's never really hit the heights. He's never really had the opportunity in the first team. So I want your views and I want your opinions on this. There's a reason that Bayern want him. He's a baller. You're right. You're right. And Hudson-Odoi is not a play. When I say he hasn't hit the heights, it's not me giving my view that he's not good enough. But I'm just stating that this would potentially be three managers running that haven't quite fancied him. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Like, this is not me trying to be bitter. This isn't me trying to be disrespectful. I'm just being realistic here in what I'm seeing, what I'm reading. Bayern scouts, we want him so badly. YouTube fans overrated. Listen, this is what happens. Remember, it's one of those things for me. I always think about it this way. I've had this conversation with obviously everyone knows how much of a fan I am of Marcus Rashford. When Marcus Rashford was discussing his new deal with Manchester United, Barcelona plus other European giants were interested in signing him. So the fact that gargantuan clubs are interested in signing these players. Yes, I listen to fan opinion. It's literally what my channel is here for. But when I hear people say, now, overrated, not good enough, I just sort of look at it and think to myself, what are you watching? What are you listening to? What is going through your head that makes you think and feel that? Because I legitimately do not understand it whatsoever. Like, it makes no sense to me at all. No sense to me whatsoever just to write these players off when there are gargantuan clubs looking to buy and sign them. However, sometimes there's something missing. So, a comment here from Skipper, who says his attitude is the problem, Terry. I would love you to expand on what you think in relation to that, please. I'd love you to expand on that. I really would. I really want you to expand on that for me, from, you know, and give me your opinion on this. Let's do some more of your comments here. Barca have dead players anyway, so it makes sense that they want Rashford. Fair enough. But that's what you always hear. I always hear that, right? You keep hearing like, yeah, well, that big club wants your players, but they've signed dead players anyway. Okay, cool. I know for a fact, right, that if Rashford became available on the market, every single fan base would be like, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. And do you know how I know that? Because Anthony Martial was always called overrated. But then when there was a sight of him leaving Man United back in 2018, everyone bent over and said, oi, come have some, mate. I'll let you have a go. Every single fan, Arsenal and Liverpool fans especially, oh, they wanted him. So it's an interesting one. But Hudson-Odoi, could he be leaving? There is, you know, there's also the other side of this equation. Is Callum Hudson-Odoi happy at Chelsea? There are lots of people that say that he is. And why would he not be? Why would he? Why would he not be? I think he probably has faith in his ability. He's still very, very young. He's at a team that's just won the European Cup. Thomas Tuchel is one of the leading managers in world football. So why not? Why not? From his point of view, he might just think, well, I'll stay for another year. If at the end of next season, I'm not getting the game time or being put into the position on the field that I want, then let's see what happens. The one thing I would say, Callum Hudson-Odoi being happy at the club and wanting to stay doesn't always equate to him not being sold. If Thomas Tuchel, in his heart of hearts, doesn't quite fancy him or sees it as an opportunity to raise money and invest elsewhere, maybe he thinks, listen, with Haaland coming in and the quality we have elsewhere, maybe there's an additional player with the money we could raise from Callum Hudson-Odoi that could improve the overall squad. Maybe there's an element of that. But it's certainly going to be an interesting saga that's going to rear its head again. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Where is the news from? Well, the news around Hudson-Odoi is from Constantine Eckers, who works for the BBC and the Times. Fairly credible journalist, if I'm being absolutely honest. He's not someone who's hyperbolic. There's actually a comment here from Adrian that says, Callum Hudson-Odoi is happy at Chelsea and wants to fight for his place. That's an interesting one. Just to see that, as I said, the same thing. You always get two sides to this story. Remember, though, and this is why I say about transfers, always remain open-minded. David Beckham didn't want to leave Man United. Cried his eyes out when he was told they were selling him. He had no desire, no want, nothing to leave. Didn't want to go. The club sold him because they felt it benefited them in the long run. Did quite well, really, afterward, but I was still gutted he left. So just because Hudson-Odoi wants to stay doesn't mean it's a foregone conclusion. Just because Bayern Munich are interested doesn't mean it's going to happen. And remember, as open-minded as you're being as a Chelsea fan, with the Lukaku and Haaland deals, even though they've been written off at some points in the last month, they're still open. You have to have that same energy when it comes to some of your players potentially leaving. There's no such thing as not for sale. There's no such thing as 110% not leaving. Depends how much Bayern Munich offer. Depends what Thomas Tuchel really feels about the player behind the scenes. And often, what a manager says to a player or says publicly about a player isn't always necessarily the complete truth because there's professionalism at play. If the right money comes in, it could see things change. And I think it's sensible to be as open-minded about people leaving as players coming in. A few people saying, Terry, I'm hearing Sancho is close. Sancho leaving Dortmund and coming to Man United is, as far as we can see, is very, very close this morning. Very, very close. But we will see. Guna here says, Rashford is very underrated, in my opinion. Oh, of course he is. He's massively underrated. What it is with him, the expectations of Marcus Rashford are ridiculous. What he has to do to be praised is above and beyond 99% of other football players. Paul Pogba suffers the same issue as an example. Hudson-Odoi, we've just been talking about, he gets that same treatment. So it's just the way things happen. Certain players are not allowed to have downturns or bad patches. Hi, Terry. Morning, all. With the potential cash we could recoup from getting rid of dead ballers and 150 million or so on top, say 250 million, who would you go for as chief of recruitment? Yes, the badge looks amazing. I mean, it depends. David, just to remind me who you support when you say we. Are you talking Man United or are you talking Chelsea? Let me know, David, and I'll answer that question because I think it's horses for courses when it comes to who I would sign for particular clubs. But 150 mil right now, if it's Man United, Haaland, Sancho, I'd fix the front line for years. That's pretty much the budget gone. That's what I would do if I'm being honest. Some people would say actually, that's what I would do. What's probably more sensible is Sancho, Ndidi, Rafael Varane. That would probably give us better strength from throughout, but we'll see. Any Liverpool updates? There's nothing really about Liverpool at the minute, but the show that I'm doing in about 15 minutes time, I'll be picking up on that. I'll be talking about it. We'll be going through it in terms of Liverpool updates. So yes, Harrison Lang here, another member, says, Terry, I'm pretty sure Dan James has better outputs than the likes of Bowen, Hudson-Odoi, Benrahma, and others, and people calling crap. Do you know what I think it is? Dan James does have some good outputs for a player of his level. There's no doubt. It's good. It's like good at the elite level, average at the elite level. But he doesn't pass the eye test for people. And I look at it this way. He costs £15 million. The Netos, the Pudences, the Rafinhas, they're all valued at between 35 and 50 million. And that's because they are that much better than Dan James. However, if you sold Dan James now, you'd get about £25 million for him. So, Bowen, I actually think Dan James would look better. Again, I think Dan James would look better in a West Ham than he does in Man United because there's more space. Teams attack you more. Would Bowen look as good in a top 6 team where teams sit behind the ball for the majority of the games? Not in my opinion. So it's relative. You always have to factor that part in. You really do. Socially here says Mount, Haaland, Hudson. I mean, just sickening, really. I know if you have all them players, it's crazy. Another member chat here says Dan James needs a loan move. United should not sell him. Atletico Madrid have offered Man City the opportunity to sign their star midfielder. Ooh. As part of a deal for Bernardo Silva. I mean, that's an interesting one because City look like this summer they might be refreshing that squad. A few good players in, a few good players out as an example, and to rejuvenate. That could happen. Marble Hall says Rashford is good, but he's not Mbappe levels. Of course. We know that now, 100%. But only Haaland is. So if Rashford should be dismissed because he's not Mbappe levels, then we're dismissing everybody, pretty much. We did a video on the terrace about 3 years ago called "You're either Mbappe or shit," and it's true. With football, social football has moved into this kind of space where if you're not as good as the person who's the best in the world in that position or the best in the world in that age group, you're looked at as rubbish, which is so weird. It's such a weird concept because by that logic, most 99.9% of the population are rubbish at everything. Do you know what I mean? You're a really good YouTuber. Yeah, but you get nowhere near the numbers of the best guys, so that therefore you're shit. Imagine that being the logic. Imagine that. Oh, listen, you're a really good singer, but you only sold 1 million albums, right? The greatest singer ever, in the first week that you released Thriller, he sold 50 million. You're shit, bruv. That's what you're saying. Think about it logically. You know what? Your clothing brand is done so well. I see everyone wearing your hats everywhere I go. Amazing. But you only sell one tenth of what Nike do in hats. Therefore, you're shit. That makes sense. It make any sense. Imagine you went through life doing that. Your kids come home. Daddy, I got an A star. Listen, you got an A star in your GCSE maths and you're 16. That is amazing. But there are some kids who got A stars in their GCSEs when they were 12 and they went to uni when they were 13. Therefore, you're a dumb fucker. You are thick as shit compared to the cleverest kid your age. You thick little bastard. That's what you're doing. It's stupid. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Daddy, I won the 100-meter sprint at Sports Day. Did you? Oh, well done, Freya. But you're not as fast as Usain Bolt. You're fucking shit. That's what you're saying. Like, you're mad. You're all mad. It's the truth. The more I think about it, the crazier it is. Do you know what I mean? Your missus comes in. She's like, darling, I've got this new recipe. I went out and bought all the fresh ingredients. I spent 6 hours prepping and cooking and making it. The candles are lit. Start to eat it. Oh, she's beautiful. It's really nice. But it's not as good as Gordon Ramsay. You're shit. That's what you all do. Think about it. I'm deep in it now. It's the dumbest logic ever. The dumbest lot. If you're not as good as the best, then you're shit. Oh, your kids are gonna hate you, man. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's mad. It's mad. It's I don't really get it. I don't get it. Do you know what I mean? City are going superstars to match their average players. City are going to superstars to match their average players. What do you mean by that? I'd love to know what you mean by that. Scott, thank you very much, Scott, for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. It means a great deal to us that you've done that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that. The best source reports there's been no contact made by Man United for Jadon Sancho. But they were the same people that last night said that Jadon Sancho is set to be sold by Borussia Dortmund. What you'll find as well, and let me just state this. So I don't know when I saw that report a couple of days ago. What's interesting is this. No official contact will be made by Man United until an official bid is made. Be very, very mindful of that. And that's the same for most transfers. Thank you, by the way, Scott, as well. You become a legend and super fan of the channel. That's amazing. Thank you very, very much indeed. You'll always see that. There's no official contact until official bids are made. Clubs nowadays are so concerned with bad PR. They're so concerned with it looking right that they often hold back. They really do. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been told he can leave. Everybody kind of knows that. My brother has that logic. If you can't come close to Ronaldo, then you are rubbish. It's just stupid. Especially in, do you know what I mean? I'll give you an example of it, where a real good sporting example. Andy Murray won 3 majors, which is very, very good. If you go through the history of tennis and look at how many pro male tennis players there have been, look at how many have actually won a Grand Slam. It's a small amount. Look at how many have won more than one type of Grand Slam. It's even smaller. And how many have 3 or more. It's a very small select group. But he's often looked at as, he was crap, though. You know, he didn't win enough. He didn't do this. He played in what most tennis fans, and I'm a casual tennis fan, but he played in an era where you've had maybe 3 of the greatest tennis players of all time in Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer. If only one of them was in Andy Murray's era, it is highly likely that Andy Murray might have 5, 6, 7 Grand Slams. So sometimes it's about the era that you find yourself in at the same time. So you could have someone now who's a striker that's considered the 5th best striker in the world because there's 4 that are better than him. But if he was 10 years older or 10 years younger, he might have been looked at as the best in the world at that moment in time. And I think that we get so bogged down with what we've said there, where people just are like, if he's not as good as the person who's the best, he's trash and he's rubbish. It's looking at it from a relative point of view. You can still be amazing, even if there are people out there that are better than you. And we see this in the debates. Who do you think's better, Terry? Paul Pogba or KDB? Whatever answer you give, the response is 9 times out of 10, again, from key stage 1 football fans. What are you saying, KDB shit, bruv? Are you stupid? Do you know what I mean? It's just ugly, legitimately ugly. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. It's just ugly. It's just absolutely ugly to listen to in that way. But there we go. Players rumored to be sold from City: Jesus, Sterling, Gundogan, Laporte, Mahrez. Would you take any United? Yeah, Gundogan, Laporte, Sterling, Mahrez. All 3 of them I'd take. I think all 3 are excellent. So all 4 are excellent football players, no doubt. City have too much good players. We want superstars. Okay. So you want better than good. You like good players. You want that. Yeah. I hear what you're saying there. I hear what you're saying now. Just Looking says we will regret selling Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think you could. I genuinely think you could regret selling him, but that's, how do I say this in the right way? That's football. That's football sometimes. Sometimes that just happens, isn't it? Sometimes you have to let someone go. Sometimes it just happens, and it's not nice, really, because you always want to maintain, your best players. You always want to maintain the right people at the club. You do, but it doesn't always work out like that. Sometimes you have to sort of cut people adrift, no matter how good or bad, certain fans think they are. Do you get where I'm coming from? Sometimes you just have to do it, and you can't get away. You can't get away from that. You really, really can't. But like Hudson-Odoi is a quality player. There is absolutely no doubt about it, how good a player that he is. It just remains to be seen whether or not Thomas Tuchel sees him as like sort of a, major parts of his plans and stuff like that. I just don't know. He's linked. It's just too often linked with a move away, if that makes sense. Too often linked with a move away from Chelsea, in my opinion. For me to truly believe that in my heart of hearts, everyone at Chelsea 110% believes this is the guy. Just something about it, because it keeps rearing its head. Let's do a few more of your comments. Terry, Hakimi to Chelsea. It's rumoured. I don't know if it will happen, but it's rumoured. And we're here to talk rumours. Harrison here says, Terry, a bit off topic, but I remember the first video of yours I watched. Why do United fans hate Lingard? And a lot of your points were relevant to Rashford. Listen, a lot of those videos that I did have come to fruition. I also did a video saying one day Man United fans would hate Rashford. And I knew that we would from day one. Because the one thing about Man United fans is this kind of, if you're not as good as so-and-so, you're trash. It stems, in my opinion, from this desire to have heroes who are bringing back the glory. People have this desire to have a hero that's bringing back the glory days that make us feel good. A lot of people, whether they picked Man United for this reason or it become a byproduct of supporting Man United, being a Man United fan for many, many years was a social benefit. It was a shield. You didn't get bantered from a football point of view because you were Manchester United. And even if you did, it was very short-lived. And fans are desperate to get back to those days because they want to be like, I support United. It's like, oh, you're amazing. And it's hard to banter us. They're also so desperate for new heroes that they slap on these ridiculously high expectations from day one. And actually look at the majority of people that hate on Rashford, hate on Ollie, hate on whoever. Go and look, just go back and do a little bit of research and look at what they were saying about these people when they first arrived or first broke onto the scene. Invariably, they're the people that really big them up. The pattern is very, very clear to see. There's no doubt about it. Very, very clear to see. Someone here says, Man United fans have got to stop these dumb comparisons of Rashi, Mbappe, Bruno, KDB. Well, the thing is, it doesn't bother me. I just have opinions on who I think is better than who, what level I see people at. I don't care about being right or wrong. It's just my opinion, And then what you get the other end of that spectrum is some Man United fans that go, do you know what I can do in this market? I can be the anti-United fan and say that all my players are trash compared to these big players at rival clubs and attract the, your ball, man. Your ball. I see a lot of people praise people's football opinions, not because because they say what they're saying, what Chelsea fans agree with or what Arsenal fans agree with, as opposed to just giving their own opinion. It's like, I smell bullshit. You just smell it a mile away. I know what you're doing. But there we go. Anyway, we've gone off topic a little bit there. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. I've got to go film the Done Deal show now. Really excited about doing that. Until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless, and we'll see you all again